Hey everybody, I'm Howard, and this is Otto's Retirement Corner. I wanted to continue today on the video I had done last week about the House Budget Committee's hearing on Social Security and Medicare. I talked about it. It's a 2+ hour hearing, and I wanted to chop it up into little bits. Again, I'll attach it if you want to watch the whole thing. Nobody will. I've been watching it over time in little chunks. So the part I want to focus on again today is just the upbeat mood of the whole thing and the way most of the congressmen and women want to work together and get a solution. And the reason I say most is you can still hear in some of the questioning of the experts, some of the representatives trying to tilt the answers towards the solutions they want to present, which may be negative towards Social Security. And when I say negative, somehow resulting in a cut in benefits, which I think we're going to see ultimately anyway, one way or another. And that cut will probably be from a higher full retirement age, from 67 up to, who knows, 69, 70, whatever it's going to be. Anyway, the focus today for me is Steve Goss, who's the chief actuarial. He's called actuary, but he's an actuarial of Social Security. The guy who is responsible for the number crunching and the projections and all the statistics, not only from the past but the present and going forward. And the hearing took the form of statements and then questions from the representatives to both Goss and a representative for Medicare. But again, I want to concentrate on Social Security Day. So I just want to touch some highlights. And this was a result of answers to questions. That Social Security, again, and Goss made this clear, does not create debt or deficits. There is no government spending associated with this. In essence, it substitutes debt to Social Security from the government versus debt to the public. So in other words, when the government needed to borrow money, and let's call it $3 trillion in total, it peaked at 2.9 something. When they needed to borrow money to pay for their programs and their expenses, instead of borrowing it from the public, they borrowed it from Social Security, which they're required to do by law. There's guidelines. They're not doing anything out of the ordinary, and we've covered this before. No politicians have stolen anything, or presidents have stolen anything from Social Security. So in essence, it's just a substitution of debt. And when the Treasury needs to pay back that money to the Social Security Administration, as they have been doing over the last 3 years, because incoming funds to the Social Security Administration are not enough to pay benefits, that money comes from what's owed. So the government or the Treasury goes out and borrows funds from the public, takes that money and gives it to the Social Security Administration, and it's a wash on debt. It doesn't create any more debt. It just changes who that debt is owed to. And that's something he wanted to make clear, along with the fact that the law does not allow a transfer from the general fund. So I've said this many times, the government cannot fund Social Security legally. They'd have to change all the Social Security laws to allow that to happen. And the Social Security Administration is not allowed to borrow money. So all the money comes from three sources. It comes from payroll contributions from the employer-employee. It comes from income taxes paid on Social Security benefits, and it comes from interest paid by the Treasury on the investments or the borrowing the government does. They give Treasury securities, the Social Security Administration, they pay them interest on that. And it's $60 to $70 billion a year right now. So, and I'm going to need my glasses here because my writing's too small. So they were talking about, last time laws were made, changed to Social Security was 1983. At that time, they thought the trust fund would be solvent through 2063. And what happened to change that is, they look at total revenue in the future, and what percentage of that revenue is paid into Social Security. And what happened is, because so much of the revenue skewed towards high earners who don't pay taxes on it above the max or the cap, which this year is $168,600, they received a smaller percentage of overall revenue into the trust fund. And it just means that because earnings are skewed towards the higher earners, it resulted in fewer taxes being paid into the Social Security Trust Fund. They understood the reduced birth rates that were coming. They understood the longer life expectancy that was coming. They just didn't account for it very well. So that's why we have this resulting possibility of the trust fund running out of money. So again, Jody Arrington asked a lot of questions, and he's the head of the committee. He's the representative, the Republican representative from Texas. And again, it was just so nice to hear him. Everything he says, every question asked, makes you think he wants to get together with Democrats and solve this. And again, don't know whether they have the power to do that, or whether that'll happen or not, or happen anytime soon. But it's extremely encouraging. That's the whole point of this video. He reiterated through his questions that, we got about 10,000 people a day retiring. Although, as it turns out, the trust fund's doing a little better because those baby boomers are retiring a little later than was expected. They're working a little longer, so they're contributing a little bit more than was expected, and they're taking out less through the fact that they're retiring later than we had expected. So that's good news for now. They talked about the 1983 Greenspan Commission, which was the precursor to the solutions for the 1983 amendment to Social Security, which raised the full retirement age. It produced income taxes on benefits. Again, negative things, but it prolonged the program. It saved the program in essence. And he reiterated it was a bipartisan solution between Ronald Reagan, the president, and the Democrat Tip O'Neill, who was the Speaker of the House at the time. And Arrington's point is, hey, if they could do that then, the most conservative Republican hero of the Republican Party, Ronald Reagan, versus this way left Democrat Tip O'Neill, and they worked together and they came up with a bipartisan solution that had overwhelming support from both sides of the aisle. Why can't we do that now is his point. And again, great to hear. They talk about immigration, and at this point, it's having a very positive effect on Social Security, whether it's legal immigration or illegal immigration. Immigrants tend to be in the 20 to 30-year-old age range in general, so they're contributors to the program. The ones who come here illegally and steal Social Security numbers, they're paying in, but they'll never get benefits, so that's a good thing. They tend to have higher birth rates than Native Americans. So when I say Native Americans, I mean people native to the country rather than immigrants. I don't mean American Indians. So they have higher birth rates, so more people will be contributing. Eventually they'll be taking benefits, and the situation may change. But in general, immigration, they stress, was very positive. Again, hearing that from a Republican, he asked the question that led to that, he knew the answer. They talk a little bit about Medicare spending tracking with general inflation, which was interesting because you would generally think healthcare spending is growing faster than inflation, but it was about equal over the last few years. But they expect that to increase to higher than the general rate of inflation. And there was an interesting point that Goss made. They talk about these unfunded liabilities. You hear, there's $200 trillion in unfunded liabilities, and I talked about this before. If you take out the program to whatever time period you want, you can make it say 10 trillion or 100 trillion or 200, whatever you want. In essence, it means whatever period you're looking at, here's what the benefits we have to pay are, and here's the plans for how much we'll be taking in, and the gap is an unfunded liability. And he made the point that they don't call it an unfunded liability, they call it an unfunded obligation, because they don't absolutely have to pay those Social Security benefits. If they don't have enough money, they'll just pay less. You don't want to hear that anyway. that's what I'm going to cover today. Interesting topics, again, very uplifting, very positive. We have a problem, we need to solve it. Again, I'd love to hear your solutions or what you think of this. Take a look at the video if you want that I'll attach and see what your thoughts are. But, it's looking up. I'm hearing so much talk from politicians about Social Security. Hopefully it's not just because the election's coming up and they're actually interested in solutions. I again, don't think there'll be a solution before the election, but hopefully there'll be some momentum to continue talking about it, and they'll maybe look at, getting some bills in front of the House and the Senate in the near future. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, please like. Good to hear from you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.